Prabhupada already sang Jai Radha Madhava, so you just speak
Yes.
directly, correct?
Yes.
No kirtan.
So, no, if you want to chant Jai Radha Madhava, you may be able to do that if you want to. You can do that.
I would like to chant Hare Krishna. Is that if that's
Yes,
okay?
you can. Yes.
Okay, just give me
Yes.
1 second. I'll get
Okay.
set on the
All
keyboard.
right.
And I'm gonna change the audio. I think you changed the audio. I can't remember how to do it to musicians.
Let me see.
Yeah, for music and for speaking is different. So I think it's in preference settings.
If you go to the settings and then you go to audio,
Yeah.
then you go to the audio profile.
Okay, got it. And original sound for musicians. Okay, got it.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ramo Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram,
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. So, dear devotees, today we are very much fortunate. We have His Grace, Sarvatma Prabhu, and I am so fortunate to say that he is my big brother in Gita Nagri here. And well, this is online, so we could not hear his voice as naturally is. But someday we hope we'll all get together and be able to fully relish his bhajans and melodious kirtans. So, Savatma Prabhu,
Yes.
our humblest gratitude for making it here today, because you're kind of quite difficult to get hold of. So we're very grateful that you can make it with us today, being here and going to be sharing your wisdom and the love on the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we may put the Bhagavatam on the screen, and then you take it over from here. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Thank you, Prabhu. Okay. So you're going to put it on the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Namam Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nasta Prayesha Vadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nastiki. Okay. So, reading from the third canto, fifth chapter, text number 4, translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Tat sadhu varyadisha vartma samna samraditu bhagavan yena pumsam ridishtito yachati bhakti pute gyanam satatva digamam puranam. Synonyms: tat, therefore; sadhuvarya, O great amongst the saints; adisha, please instruct; vartma, the path; sham, auspicious; na, for us; samradita, being perfectly served; bhagavan, the personality of Godhead; yena, by which; pumsam, of the living entity; ridishtita, residing in the heart; yachati, awards; bhakti pute, unto the unalloyed devotee; gyanam, knowledge; sa, that; tattva, truth; adigamam, by which one learns; puranam, authorized; old. Translation. Therefore, O great sage, please give me instruction on the transcendental devotional service of the Lord, so that he who is situated in the heart of everyone can be pleased to impart from within knowledge of the absolute truth in terms of the ancient Vedic principles delivered only to those who are purified by the process of devotional service. Purport. As already explained in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the absolute truth is realized in three different phases. Although they are one and the same in terms of knowers' capacity to understand, the most capable transcendentalist is the pure devotee of the Lord, who is without any tinge of fruitive actions or philosophical speculation. By devotional service, only thus one's heart become completely purified from all material coverings like karma, jnana, and yoga. Only in such a purified stage does the Lord, who is seated in everyone's heart with the individual soul, give instruction so that the devotee can reach the ultimate destination of going back home, back to Godhead. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 10.10, Disham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam, etc. Only when the Lord is satisfied with the devotional service of the devotee does he impart knowledge, as he did for Arjuna and Uddhava. The jnanis, yogis, and karmis cannot expect this direct cooperation of the Lord. They are not able to satisfy the Lord by transcendental loving service, nor do they believe in such service to the Lord. The bhakti process, as performed under the regulative principles of Vaidhi Bhakti, or devotional service following the prescribed rules and regulations, is defined by the revealed scriptures and confirmed by great acharyas. This practice can help the neophyte devotee to rise to the stage of Raga Bhakti, in which the Lord responds from within, as a Chaitya Guru, or the spiritual master, as superconsciousness. All transcendentalists, other than devotees, make no distinction between the individual soul and the supersoul because they miscalculate the superconsciousness and the individual consciousness to be one and the same. Such miscalculation by the non-devotees makes them unfit to receive any direction from within, and therefore they are bereft of the direct cooperation of the Lord. After many, many births, when such a non-dualist comes to sense that the Lord is worshipable and the devotee is simultaneously one with and different from the Lord, then only can he surrender unto the Lord Vasudeva. Pure devotional service begins from that point. The process of understanding the absolute truth adopted by the misguided non-dualist is very difficult, whereas the devotee's way of understanding the absolute truth comes directly from the Lord, who is pleased by devotional service. On behalf of many neophyte devotees, Vidura, at the very first instance, inquired from Maitreya about the path of devotional service by which the Lord, who is seated within the heart, can be pleased. Let's read the verse again. Therefore, O great sage, please give me instruction on the transcendental devotional service of the Lord, so that he who is situated in the heart of everyone can be pleased to impart from within knowledge of the absolute truth in terms of the ancient Vedic principles delivered only to those who are purified by the process of devotional service. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksur Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Paramananda Maravam Shri Chaitanya Mishwaram Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. So here is a conversation between Vidura and Maitreya. And you may wonder, wait a second, this is Vidura who is asking questions. Vidura knows probably as much or more than Maitreya. Why is he asking questions? But we see this in our common practice when we go to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, and there is some advanced devotee or some Madhyama Adhikari who asks questions from a speaker, and the speaker may not be very experienced, but it's for the benefit of others. The person usually who asks the questions during class knows the answers, can answer them themselves, can answer them to everybody. It's not only to himself or herself. but this is for the benefit of others. So here is Vidura. Vidura is no ordinary living entity. Matter of fact, if you care to read some of the where is it? I think it's in I think it's in this very chapter, the 5th chapter of because when Maitreya finally, when Vidura stopped asking and says, okay, answers Vidura's questions, he begins by, because Vidura says, for example, in text 15, O Maitreya, friend of the distressed, the glories of the Supreme Lord can alone do good for all people all over the world. So that's, his statement is very clear, that he is doing it for the benefit of everybody. And Maitreya Muni, in the text 17, according to Sukadeva Goswami, says, after honoring Vidura very greatly, not just, oh, thank you for asking, began to speak at Vidura's request for the greatest welfare of all people. So this is confirmed. This is not just a dialogue. This is for everybody. And Maitreya said, O Vidura, O glory unto you. You have inquired from me of the greatest of all goodness, and thus you have shown your mercy both to the world and to me, because your mind is always absorbed in thoughts of the transcendence. This is not flattery. This is actually stating the truth, that Vidura is a great, great Mahabhagavata, is a very, very advanced devotee. And continues, O Vidura, it is not at all wonderful that you have so accepted the Lord without deviation of thought, for you were born from the semen of Vyasadeva. I know that you are now Vidura due to the cursing of Mandavya Muni, and that formerly you were King Yamaraj, the great controller of living entities after their death. You were begotten by the son of Satyavati, Vyasadeva, and the kept wife of his brother. Your good self is one of the eternal associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for whose sake the Lord, while going back to his abode, left instructions with me. So this is Krishna's telling Vidura that you can inquire from Maitreya. Yeah, I left instructions for you with him. So this is not uncommon that the message may come through an unusual source. Because if you say, okay, let's put him in a hierarchy table somewhere, and probably Vidura will rate higher than Maitreya, because Vidura is a pure devotee, and at no time it is said that Maitreya Muni was a pure devotee. However, it is said that Vidura was a pure devotee. So how is that the pure devotee is taking instruction from someone who is not exactly defined as a pure devotee? Because the idea is that the instructions can be taken from anybody. And our movement seems to have someone lost the plot in that sense, that I can only take instructions from my guru, because I can only say my guru is a pure devotee and everybody else is struggling along just like I am. So therefore, the only person who can impart knowledge unto me and give me instructions on pure devotional service, how to achieve pure devotional service, is my own guru. And everybody else, well, thank you. Thank you for your help. Have a nice day. This is not the process. Our movement is designed, and this is the Vedic paradigm, is designed for shiksha, for instruction, from anybody. Anybody. You're on book distribution, and you're spacing out, and some guy just drives by drinking a beer and smoking a cigarette, and his car is a mess, his face is a mess, everything is a mess in his life, and he tells you, why don't you get a job? Why don't you get a real job? That person in complete distress and disarray and ignorance is giving very good instruction to the book distributor. Yes, Do not space out. Get a real job. Just remember what you have to do, which is to save the conditioned living entities. So this is the devotional service doesn't begin by one going to the Himalayas and bowing down and kneeling over uncooked corn and walking a mile, crawling a mile to perform great austerities so one can get the final instruction. When I was young, I saw a movie. It was called The Silent Warrior. I believe David Carradine, later to be known as Kung Fu, that famous series from the 60s or 70s, was the main actor. And he had to, it was kind of like the King Yudhisthira story, where he had to, his brothers were kidnapped, and then he had to confront a yaksha who presented a series of quizzes and questions that were really difficult to answer. Of the most famous, the one that Prabhupada quoted, was Yasyaham Anugrihami, when he was asked, what's the most amazing thing in this world? And King Yudhisthira didn't find any problem answering that. He said, Yasyaham Anugrihami, no, that's a different. Gachantiya Jamalayam. Ahanya Hani Bhutani Gachantiya Jamalayam. Oh, that's an easy one. He said, this everybody's lining up, going to the kingdom of Yamaraj, Vidura, and everybody's thinking in that line, no, I'm not going to die. I mean, everybody else, there's a long line behind me and in front of me, and everybody's gonna croak, but not me. I'm the exception. I'm special. So this is the movie that I saw. It was somewhere in the 70s. It was this warrior that he had to face innumerable warriors with many tricks and mystical tricks, and everybody had to fight each other, and the winner will get a map to go to a very sacred place and find the truth. So he was interested. He wasn't so much interested in fighting. He was interested or winning. He was interested in the truth. And so if that was a prize, he will fight. So he fought and he won, and he got a map. And on the path to that place, Valhalla or Shangri-La, he had to face innumerable problems with mystical creatures that gave him trouble and tested his determination. And finally, he got to this Shangri-La, this heavenly place, where there was a gazebo with a huge book, the Book of Life of sorts. So he finally got to the treasure, and he will find the truth. And then he opened the book, and there was a mirror. So the truth is you. So the message was wrong. I mean, partially wrong. The truth is not you, but is the super soul and you, not just you. So simultaneously one and different. Yes, we are God, but with a small g. So you have to find the other God with a big G in order to make the episode complete. So that was nice, good attempt, but half complete, not fully. So Vidura, he had a very unusual story. He was born because he was born out of Satyavati by the sage Parasara Muni, who created a fog in the Ganges River and asked the maiden to. He said, "I have a mission. I have to deliver. He who will deliver the Vedas to everybody." And I found from you, Satyavati didn't know why he would choose her. She was just the daughter of a fisherman. However, she wasn't. She was the princess to the throne of the father, and somehow or other ended up. But it will be revealed in the story in the Mahabharata that is because she was in danger that her father actually gave him to a fisherman, because there was much intrigue and plotting to assassinate the royal family. There's always that. There were always the demons were coming. And therefore, she had a son, Vyasadeva, who grew immediately. She remained a virgin. And Vyasadeva had a mission, so he said, Mom, I can't hang out and play like a kid with you. So, he was already mature right away. But if you need me, just call me. Just think of me and I will show up. So eventually, when Vichitravirya, who was supposed to continue the dynasty, he kind of got into the side of Sanskrification and got tuberculosis and died early. So there was no descendants. He was just, a playboy basically. And Bhishma had sworn not to have kids. So there was very little they could do. So she called Vyasadeva, and Vyasadeva showed up and said, yeah, Mommy, what can I do for you? And she said, well, you have to continue the dynasty. And he said, I don't know if you read my bio, but I'm here to deliver the Vedas, and I don't have time for domestic affairs. So please don't ask me that. But she said, well, there is no one else that can do it, so you will have to do it. And said, so Vedavyas, because Bhishma already went and grabbed these three girls at a Sayambara ceremony, Amba, Ambika, and Ambalika, though Amba was promised to Salvia, and it was, anyway, the plot thickens. She became Shikandin to kill Bhishma. So Ambika and Ambalika were there, and Vyasadeva said, okay, just make sure they practice the severe austerities to get a proper king as a son, and I'll come back in a year. And Satyavati said, no, we don't have that time. So do it right away. And he said, no, well, then they will have to accept me as I am, and it's going to be tough. I mean, he looked pretty scary. He just wearing rags, and he had dreadlocks, and he smelled pretty strongly. He was in the Himalayas practicing austerities. He wasn't putting perfume on and wearing Christian Dior clothes. And so Satyavati warned the ladies to prepare themselves, but they weren't exactly prepared for what they saw. So when he came to the chamber of Ambika, this is imposing sage with reddish eyes and a huge beard and dreadlocks. I mean, she was expecting something else, I think. So she basically closed her eyes while they were having intercourse. And so Satyavati was waiting outside. She knew that Vyasadeva could anticipate what was going to happen. Say, what was Trikalagya, sage that can see past, present, and future. Said, everything okay? He said, well, she closed her eyes, so the son will be born blind. And she said, no, that's not going to be a king. That we cannot have a blind king. So tomorrow you can take care of Ambalika. And Ambalika was warned by Satyavati, please do not, whatever you do not close your eyes. So Ambalika did not close her eyes, but she could not help herself and became completely pale as she had seen a ghost. So Pandu was born. Pandu was pale, completely pale. So when Vyasadeva told Satyavati about that, Satyavati said, you have to try again. Let's go back to Ambika. But Ambika just couldn't take another encounter with Vyasadeva, so she left her chambermaid. And Vyasadeva knew immediately who she was, but because she was so attentive and so devotional, Vyasadeva wanted to give her a son, a nice son, and that's how Vidura was born. Of course, Vidura could not be crowned because he didn't belong to the royal class. I mean, He was a relative, but he was not born from a queen. Anyway, so Vidura was the most intelligent, most advanced. Vidura is the one who warned the Pandavas about the house of lack. That's why the Pandavas didn't burn, and also sent a friend to dig a tunnel so they could escape, and also gave him a lot of tips of how to avoid being detected by Duryodhana and his henchmen. So in any case, here is Vidura, same Vidura, Yamaraj, one of the 12 Mahajans, who is asking for instructions from Maitreya Muni. And the instructions that he asks are quite, how could I say? Let's go back to the text. Text 4. They're about devotional service. Therefore, O great sage, please give me instruction on the transcendental devotional service of the Lord, so that he who is situated in the heart of everyone can be pleased to impart from within knowledge of the absolute truth in terms of the ancient Vedic principles, delivered only to those who are purified by the process of devotional service. There's a quote from Srila Prabhupada. A devotee asks, but Srila Prabhupada, that's when Prabhupada was about to leave the planet. We're crying because we can't be without you. When you leave, we won't know how to communicate with you. And Prabhupada said, of course, one of the things he says, I'll be present in my book. I'm present in my books. But he also said, I will communicate with you through your heart. I will come to you in your dreams. I will communicate with you through dreams as a Chaitya Guru. So it's not like there is only one way to see Prabhupada. Any dream of Srila Prabhupada is a bona fide encounter. These are spiritual dreams. So instructions that Vidura is asking from Maitreya Muni is about transcendental devotional service. So the Guru and the heart, the Chaitya Guru, can actually communicate, because there is a barrier, because we still want to please ourselves. We want to please our senses. We want to go the wrong way around it. We want to please ourselves and hope that Krishna is pleased by that. And it's the other way around, that if we please Krishna, we will be pleased. We just don't have that embedded into our mind yet. The false ego is constantly attacking us, thinking, no, you are the center, you are the center. But we don't belong there. We don't belong there. It is painfully obvious that we are not the center of the universe, but philosophically we have been able to accept it, but practically we haven't. Just like, for example, when we ask anybody, you go to a room full of people somewhere, Target, the library, DMV, anywhere, and you pass a questionnaire to everybody there that says, one of the questions is, are you going to die? Yes, no. And they have to cross one. They will all cross yes. But if you study their lives, everybody's thinking, I'm not going to die. I'm not going to be me. I'm living in a way that I'm thinking I'm immortal. I'm always going to be, I'm not doing anything wrong. But if you put it in black and white, in paper in front of them, I'm going to die. But not really. People are not thinking like that. So there is something else from a previous chapter 4 of the third canto, that in the text 16 and 17, my Lord, even the learned sages become disturbed in their intelligence when they see your greatness engages in fruitive work, although you're free from all desires, that you take birth, although you're unborn, that you flee out of fear of the enemy and take shelter in a fort, although you're the controller of invincible time, and that you enjoy householder life surrounded by many women, although you enjoy in yourself. And the next text says, oh my Lord, your eternal self is never divided by the influence of time, and there is no limitation to your perfect knowledge. Thus you were sufficiently able to consult with yourself, yet you call upon me for consultation, as if bewildered, although you are never bewildered. And this act of yours bewilders me. This is a common theme that the devotees, even though they try to understand Krishna, they can't figure him out. They can't figure him out. Just like Kunti, that and Lord Brahma. Kunti said, you are inside and outside. So it's impossible not to see you, yet we don't see you. You're inside of everything, and everything is inside of you. How does this fit? We cannot squeeze that. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, in his foreword to the Brahma Samhita, said that even if you sift the entire creation through your mind, you still won't be able to understand anything. Why? It's because we need mercy. We need mercy in order to understand. This is not just a question of numerical question that you basically do what you're told and then everything happens all of a sudden mechanically. Like you follow is this is Krishna consciousness is not building a shelf from IKEA that you follow the directions and then the shelf becomes sturdy and you can put books on it or whatever you want to put on it. Krishna sent instructions through Lord Brahma, but Lord Brahma also had trouble. The most intelligent living entity. Lord Brahma's body is made out of intelligence. Can't get more intelligent than that. And he had trouble. He had trouble understanding. That's what the Brahma Vimohana Lila is. That he could not understand. He actually thought, okay, I see Krishna. I do see Krishna here, and he's a coward boy, but he could be the Lord of everything. He could, but I don't think so. Because if he thought he could be his Lord, he wouldn't try to play a trick. So he tried to test them. So he kidnapped the. Of course, those who worship Lord Brahma do not accept this particular lila. He kidnapped the cowherd boys and the calves, and when he came back, of course, Lord Brahma lives for a long time. So a moment of Lord Brahma is a very long time. So when he came back, time has passed, and he saw that each one of the cowherd boys had transformed into a form of Narayan, effulgent. He couldn't even look at them. They were so bright. And so he did not understand, and then basically he scratched his forehead in unison, and then he saw that they were again the Krishna was looking for the cowherd boys. But just he couldn't understand anything. But he knew he made a mistake. That he knew right away. Right away. So, in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, in chapter 13, in the verse 49, the Vishnu forms are described that Krishna manifested. This is actually the last thing that Prabhupada wrote before he left this world. The Vishnu forms that Krishna manifested when he duplicated all the cowherd boys and calves are described. Is described that he was surrounded by devotees, worship him by Bhuri Punya, the greatest pious activity, which Srila Prabhupada translates as chanting and hearing. So this is the greatest pious activity, hearing and chanting, not building temples or giving charity. No, hearing and chanting. Prabhupada comments on the power of the Sankirtan movement. This is a quote. In our Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, and this relates to devotional service, there is a tamal tree that covers the entire corner of the courtyard. Before there was a temple, the tree was lying neglected. but now it has developed very luxuriantly, covering the whole corner of the courtyard. This is a sign of Buri Punya, the greatest pious activity. Of course, the Tamal tree eventually left its body, and they planted another Tamal tree, and it's doing great. So in the next verse, the description continues. Those Vishnu forms, by their pure smiling, would resemble the increasing light of the moon, and by their sidelong glances of the reddish eyes, created and protected the desires of their own devotees, as if by the modes of passion and goodness. In his purport, Srila Prabhupada references the commentary of Sanatana Goswami to explain that although a pure devotee has no personal desires, the Lord's glance enthuses such a devotee with a desire to perform devotional service, which the Lord also maintains. This commentary apparently very much inspired Srila Prabhupada, and again, he reflects on the wonderful temple he built in Vrindavan, where he was residing at the time. He said, in Vrindavan, there's a quote, there's a place where there was no temple, but a devotee desired, let there be a temple and seva, devotional service. Therefore, what was once an empty corner has now become a place of pilgrimage. Such are the desires of a devotee. So this is what happens when a pure devotee is involved, that his desire becomes Krishna's order. Krishna carries the order, the desire of his devotee, because we say, okay, we supposed to be pleasing Krishna. But guess what Krishna's business is? Krishna's business is to please the devotees. So it's not like, oh, finally, I was able to please Krishna, and now Krishna is finally laying on a hammock, sipping pina colada, and I'm just doing service and everything is fine. No, Krishna is actually working hard to please his devotees. That's he derives pleasure, like we derive pleasure out of service. Actually, that's the only pleasure that there is in this world. It comes out of relationships, anywhere. Comes out of relationships, comes out of pleasing people that we love. And Krishna, because it comes from Krishna, Krishna has the same desire to please those who he loves and those who love him as well. So what Vidura is asking from Maitreya is simply to elucidate those particular points for the benefit of everybody. That if there is no love, there is no business. There's nothing. There's nothing that sustains our devotional service, not by mechanical means, not by seniority, not by just selecting instructions, giving up good instructions because they didn't come from our guru. As this is actually a process where we learn from everything. Everything in this world is meant to teach us, even the bad things that happen to us. Those are actually very instructive, that we may suffer setback or pain or diseases or loss or anything like that. And it's not just a punishment. We should not take it just as a punishment. This is a lesson that we need to learn, and that's the only way that we're going to learn it. So we should take it, we should welcome it with open arms. Not that we're going to enjoy it, but we're going to learn something that is going to propel us towards Krishna. And that's the goal. And that's what Vidura is asking Maitreya, please help me get closer. And Maitreya is accepting his service because that will please Krishna too. That will bring him closer to Krishna. So, dear brothers and sisters, this is our business, to push each other closer to Krishna, somehow or other, by any means necessary. And why do we tell, okay, this is easy because it's preaching to the choir. You guys don't have to be convinced about Krishna consciousness or the validity of the process of Krishna consciousness. But what about others? We should not be elitist in the sense that everybody, from the trees to Lord Brahma, needs help to get back to Krishna. So we should actually do that, follow Lord Chaitanya's advice. And his advice was very strong. Pritiviteache yatanagaradigram Sarvatra Prachar, Holy Vibhuranam. Wherever you go, chant the holy name, instruct people about Krishna, give them whatever they can take. Sometimes they cannot take very much, and sometimes they can take a lot. But we cannot find out how much they need unless we ask them. So let's try to spread the goodness to others, and then the goodness will come back to us. This is a reciprocal process. If we please Krishna, we will make spiritual advancement. And if we please ourselves, we make no advancement, even though we may become one of the subsidiaries or one of the side effects of impure devotional service. You may get fame, adoration, worship, recognition, all these things that are actually not really pleasant. Once you have them, you'll see they're not very pleasant. The only pleasure is to serve Krishna and the devotees. So whatever we do, if we cook, we should cook for the pleasure of Krishna and the devotees. If we sing, we should sing for the pleasure of Krishna and the devotees. If we say something, it should be for the pleasure of Krishna and the devotees. Whatever we do. Yes. And if we read a book, it's not that to show our erudition or how good we are at anything. It's to please Krishna and the devotees. Because if we please Krishna, that's not enough. We have to please the devotees, because that's Krishna's business as well. All right, the sermon is over, even though it is not Sunday morning. And we ask for comments and disagreement, questions, whatever you want to present.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. It's great, SARVATMA Prabhu. The sermon is over. The sermon is temporarily over. Anadiniradan Prabhu, yes, please you be on mute. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dandavat pranams. Prabhu, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you very much. Yeah, Prabhu, thank you. So, Prabhu, my question is, as far as guru-disciple relationship is concerned, what could be the reason why disciples of the same guru will be living in harmony when the guru himself is in this material world? But as soon as left this material with the same disciples that were one when the guru is alive, they become divided. Is it that the instructions given were what the disciples may not understood, or something else might be the cost? And as far as Vani and Vapu is concerned, which one do we take more serious? Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the question. Well, they say when the cat is away, the mouse will play. The mice will play. So this is the principle that we are waiting. We are actually identifying with the body. We are identifying with the ego, with the mind, with intelligence. We're not identifying with the soul, because the soul doesn't want to be in disagreement. It wants to serve. And every other force that is pulling down doesn't want to do that. We want to be served. I don't know if you figured that out yet, but everybody in this world wants to be served. They don't want to serve because they're misidentifying themselves. That's not our nature. It's not our nature. Just like, let's say you have a fever or a flu or something for a long time, then you actually begin to believe that that's your natural state. You forget about being healthy. So you basically just have to adapt to a new lifestyle, where you can only eat certain things, you can only walk for so much, you're in a bad mood. I mean, this becomes your new personality because you're sick, and because you forgot what it is like to be healthy. So in that environment that we create due to misidentification, there is obviously a competition and disagreement, because everybody wants to serve themselves. So you become an obstacle. How come you're not serving me? Why are you trying to serve yourself? So you become a problem to me, and everybody else, has their own idea. So when the guru goes away, it's natural, even to a movement. You can read it as a sociological phenomena that when a charismatic leader departs, then there is quarrel and turmoil in any movement, and especially religious movements, because they were holding it together. When Prabhupada was on the planet, if anybody had any questions, all he had to do was to ask Prabhupada, and he had the answer. And now there are many opinions. So you ask this guru or this GBC or this sannyasi or that Mataji or whatever, and you get different opinions. So you don't know what to do. So you have to filter it through your own mind and see what you come up with. So it's difficult. Harmony is not something that you buy at Target. You have to work for it. You have to actually bend yourself backwards for the pleasure of others. That's where harmony comes from, when everybody is sacrificing their own self for the sake of others. And in the past, when Prabhupada was on the planet, just to use Prabhupada as an example, and not other particular gurus, everybody wanted to please Prabhupada. So there was no disagreement, and that's how they thought. Would this please Prabhupada? Would that please Prabhupada? But then that ended, and at least for some. And as far as Vapu and Vani, actually, in the early days, I think only Yamuna Devi understood the difference between Vapu and Vani. That's why she just went away, because she knew Prabhupada was going to leave anytime. So she had to actually become very strong by serving Prabhupada's Vani, by serving Prabhupada's instruction, where everybody else wanted to, fly wherever Prabhupada was and serve him directly. Even Harikish, then Harikish Maharaj, Prabhupada kept chastising him, because there was a time that every GBC was going to spend 1 or 2 months with Prabhupada as his secretary. And Prabhupada had kept harassing Harikish Maharaj. And so he didn't know what to do. And Prabhupada would say, "You're wasting your time here. You're wasting your time cooking and typing, and anybody can do that. Why don't you go and preach? Go away." So was Prabhupada rejecting this disciple, kicking him out? No, he was actually trying to engage him in more important service. So to us, to anybody, Vapu is not as important as Vani. So there is no new agreement or new terms and conditions, like you get it on your PayPal or, Verizon and everything else that keeps changing their agreements, terms of agreements and conditions and so on. This will remain always like this. Vani, to serve the instruction, is more important. It's in the prayer that we sing every morning, right? Yasya prasada bhagavat prasada, yasya prasada nagati kutopi. Without following the order of a spiritual master, we're lost. So the order is the same for everybody. Try to regain what you lost, which is love of Krishna, and try to serve the devotees. The devotees means everybody, because everybody's a devotee originally. Everybody, all living entities. That's why we preach, because they're all devotees. Otherwise, what would be the point? Oh, this person is not a soul. This entity is not a devotee. No, they're all devotees in different degrees of amnesia. So those who are favorable, you help them. And those who are unfavorable, you avoid them. And those who are innocent, you try to push them in the right direction. Just give them good advice. And hope for the best, because the result is not up to us. So there you have it. We all have the same, ultimately, like people say, "Oh, yeah, this devotee is a Prabhupada disciple, so he's so fortunate." But actually, we all have the same relationship with Prabhupada as the founder Acharya. All of us, even those who travel with Prabhupada. Prabhupada is the founder Acharya of the movement. So we have the same relationship with Prabhupada that Prabhupada disciples have, as Prabhupada as the founder Acharya. As far as Diksha Guru, we have a different relationship. But as far as the founder Acharya, everybody, people will be born 300 years from now, will have the same relationship that we have with Prabhupada and Prabhupada disciples have with Prabhupada, because Prabhupada is the founder Acharya of our movement. So there is your Vani, do the best you can with it.
Hare Krishna. Anadinadana Prabhu, I believe you're satisfied. And
Yes.
I must say thank you so much for your question. Very, very relevant question. And Prabhuji, you did wonderful justice to it. I've learned a lot from the answer given to the question. Dear devotees, does anyone else have a question? Reflections? All right. Dr. Hassan, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, your grace, please, any affect my respectful obeisances. All glory to Gurudev, all glory to Prabhupada, and all glory to the wonderful assembly devotees. Your grace, please, my question is about Vedul. Why is Vedul, he was the only one who have to come out, who was born with an intelligence without defect from the inmate, where the other mothers who was the royal family, their children were come with defects. And at the same time, Vedul is Yamaraj. So when Yamaraj was praying as Vedul, who took the place as Yamaraj? This is my humble question. Hare Krishna.
Well, I think the second part of your question is a little tough. I don't have information of who sat in for Yamaraj. If there was a system in place that people waited, actually, the court of Yamaraj. Apparently, the court of Yamaraj. It's not like everybody goes to Yamaraj. Like devotees are not. They're blessed not to ever see the face of Yamaraj. I mean, they may see him as a pure devotee, but just like when Dhruva Maharaj was leaving his body, death personified came to kind of scare him away, to shock him, and but Dhruva was not bewildered. He said, "Can you please bend over a little bit, because the airplane that is taking me back to Godhead is a little high, so I need to step. I need a step stool, and there is nothing available, so I'm gonna step on your back." So this is how devotees see death personified, and Yamaraj. They see him as a pure devotee. They don't see, or Maya even. Maya, which is scary, it should be scary to all those who are not pure. But Maya is a pure devotee. Maya is just has a. I was giving a class in Alachua recently. I was visiting Florida for the Holy Name Festival, and I described Maya as a personal trainer that Krishna sends to make a tailor-made program for us to develop spiritual muscle. So if a personal trainer doesn't increase the weight that you lift after you're able to break through, then it's not a good personal trainer. If it doesn't push you, it's not a good personal trainer. Never develop the muscle. So this is the job of like Yamaraj. The job Yamaraj is a deterrent, so we don't have to meet him. We have to behave properly. And as far as who takes over when Yamaraj is away, you see, Yamaraj lives in a heavenly planet. Well, it's a low planet, but it's like a heavenly planet. So in the heavenly planets, I think time is very different. Like a day of on Earth, 6 months on Earth is like a day in the heavenly planets. So I imagine that even for the entire lifetime of Vidura, there was probably 100 years. It wasn't that long that he went away.
Mm.
So maybe he just left a little sign saying gone fishing. Just was away for 6 months.
Yeah.
Well,
That's my
I
speaking.
we had discussed this question before. Who took the role of Yamaraj when he appeared as Vidura, but I had forgotten. I was thinking it was Nahusha, but I just checked online. It was Ariyama. That is one of the sons of Kashyapa and Aditi.
There you go.
Yeah, who took the role of Yamaraj. Like Prabhuji was saying, to us on earth, it appears very long, but to the denizens of the Yamaloka, it was just a brief, because our 6 months is just their 12 hours. So it wasn't that long for them, but for us, it was very long. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, and my first question, I think I didn't have the answer of my first question.
Oh, can you repeat maybe?
Yeah, the first question was the Vedul was the mother of the maid.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
What was the problem with the defects of his brothers? Well,
No, I mean, why is it that the maid was the only person who child was who come out right, but those who were the royalty, their children were come with defect.
I think
what is the story behind that?
I think it shows, in my opinion, my humble opinion, is that it shows the power of serving the devotees, serving the pure devotees, because the maid actually understood her position and took care of Yamaraj or Vidura, of Vyasadeva.
Yes,
As a pure devotee and a Shaktiavesh avatar, as an envoy, as Krishna himself is in his literary incarnation. It pleased him so much that she got the blessing of having the best of children, whereas the royal ladies, they were thinking of themselves. They were scared. They were not pleased. They thought they were marrying a prince, and then this big ugly sage came to the room, so that they didn't see the purpose of serving a pure devotee. They only saw, that I don't like this guy. Why should I have union with him? It's not pleasing to my senses. So that's. But even though they had the wrong mentality, they still had Pandu, and they still had Dhritarashtra, who was blind, both as is spoken in the Bhagavatam, both spiritually and materially blind. But actually, he eventually, at the very end, he changed. He actually listened to good advice and practiced austerities, and had a better destination. So there was hope for even Dhritarashtra, although he made so many horrible mistakes.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Sure, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Prabhuji, I have one question, because somehow we're trying to study this Srimad Bhagavatam in a systematic chronological order. And we read a couple verses before today's verse that Vidura was present there when Krishna was about to leave the planet, and Krishna imparted this knowledge to him. But Maitreya was also there. So Maitreya also heard what Krishna told Vidura. But the message was actually aimed at being imparted to Vidura. Now, to Uddhava, sorry.
Buddha,
Now,
yeah.
when Vidura came into the picture and wanted to know from Uddhava what Krishna told him, Uddhava did not tell him. He actually referred him to go to Maitreya.
Yeah.
And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, one of the purports, that Uddhava did that because Uddhava was like a son to Vidura. Because Uddhava and Krishna were like peers. And Vidura, like Dr. Hassan is asking, Vidura, Dhritarashtra, Pandu, they were brothers and they were all very old. And so, as a matter of etiquette, Uddhava did not want to impart the knowledge Krishna gave him to him, but he asked him to go to see Maitreya, which he did. But later on, we saw that Uddhava again imparted the knowledge to Vidura. So my question is, at what point does one hold back imparting knowledge to someone who is superior to him? And at what point does one impart knowledge to someone who is even superior to him? Because Uddhava demonstrated both scenarios. At a point, he did not, because he said, this is superior to me, so he referred Vidura to go to Maitreya. And then at some point, even though he knew this, but he still imparted knowledge to Maitreya. So at what point do we take which rule?
I don't think there is a rule that, and written in cement that it can be, a certain point, after so many words, then you take over. I think as a matter of etiquette, because Maitreya was senior, he was asked to speak. Like, I had this, I don't know, I don't want to sound petulant, but I went to programs with where I went with devotees more senior to me, and when people ask questions, I defer the answers to my seniors, even though I knew that I could answer them probably better because I was more, how do you say, I had a better pulse of the audience.
Yeah.
Whereas some devotees, they just spew lines, they just repeat things, kind of the party line. I was more attuned to what people were really asking and why they were asking it. It wasn't just a generic question that somebody asked. They were actually pleading their case, like pouring their heart and asking for a proper answer that was directed to them, not some quote from a book or some party line thing. But I did defer to seniors to answer for me because I knew that was the etiquette. However, when they ask more questions around that question that they asked before, because they were obviously not satisfied with the answers, then I intervene. But having once done it the proper way, let's say, okay, you're my senior, please explain, and then I will say, okay, well, in that case, let me present this for you for your consideration, and doing it around it. So it is pretty obvious that no one is closer to Krishna than Uddhava. He is a confidential associate. He even looked like Krishna.
Yeah.
Even the gopis thought he looks like Krishna. He's his counselor. Is his confidant. Uddhava is as high as you can get without being a gopi. And there he is obviously giving Maitreya the opportunity to explain things. But when it gets a little more finer and it's time to step in, then even Maitreya knows that Uddhava knows more than him, and he's actually doing him a favor. It's like, okay, please speak. So I think it's good to remember, it's good to know that we should be respectful to our seniors and devotees who've been, studying the scriptures or being in the proximity of the movement, or even those who give everybody a chance. Like, for example, there may be a devotee who's not so strict and not so knowledgeable, et cetera, but that will be an opportunity for them to preach. And, anybody who's been a preacher knows that there is no better method of inculcating oneself the teachings than by hearing them from one's own voice, because everybody's enamored over their own voice. So when you hear it from others, it doesn't sound so great. But when you hear it yourself, like when I talk to you about Krishna consciousness, I'm listening too, and I'm taking it seriously. So it's good to give people an opportunity to express their Krishna consciousness. So you always, when I'm an audience of many, and somebody asks me a question, and the question is long because they want to be noticed, they want to be appreciated, they want to hear themselves and so on. I do give them a chance. Sometimes I said, so what do you think? The answer is, without answering anything. And the person, obviously, I know what they think. And so my answer will be better when I hear what they think about what the answer should be. Then I can see, okay, this is the problem with it, or no, you're right. This should be the right thing. So I think Uddhava is giving a chance to Maitreya to make spiritual advancement, and he's following the etiquette. But eventually, if you want to know the closest, something from a closest associate to Krishna, someone who actually Krishna asked for advice from, then Uddhava would speak. So there's no contradiction there. We do it ourselves.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the help, because I have had this experience a couple times. Of course, I think this probably might be the only or maybe one of the few experiences that our gurus today may experience that Srila Prabhupada did not experience, because almost all the disciples of Srila Prabhupada were younger than him. But in our today's world, our gurus, lots of them may have disciples that are older than them in terms of bodily age. And I saw this with my own eyes several times when my Gurudev, His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, would interact with some of his disciples, because these disciples were older than him by age, and at the same time, they were chiefs. So when he relates with them, I see there is a difference between the relationship of such devotees and somebody like me, because I am much, much younger than my Gurudev in terms of age. And these other devotees, they are older than him. Some could even be like a father to him. And at the same time, they held very high esteemed position in society. Even though he instructed them as a guru will instruct the disciples, but I see there was a big difference in the relationship. And it kind of reminds me or tells me that there are different categories of seniority that if someone took, like someone may be older than me in terms of age, or may even join the devotional service earlier than I did, but if I took initiation before him, then I become a senior devotee to him. And I learned this from Jayapataka Maharaj, where he said he took sannyas initiation like 2 seconds before, I've forgotten the name of this Maharaj. I've forgotten the name, but he joined devotional service before Jayapataka Maharaj. But because Jayapataka Maharaj took sannyas initiation before him, he calls him his senior god brother. So my question in all this wrangling is that at what point do we follow this etiquette that this person is senior to me and I have to give him this much respect? Even though we try to give respect to everybody, whether they are devotees, non-devotees, we do that, but there are different sort of respect we give to certain type of people. So at what point do I say that Sarvatma Prabhu joined devotional service earlier than I did? He is older than me in bodily age, biologically, but I am now a sannyasi. He's not a sannyasi. So at what point do I give Sarvatma his due respect that he joined before me? He's biologically older than me. And Sarvatma Prabhu also saying, well, I had all these things earlier than Sahadev, but he's now a sannyasi. So I also, at what point and how do we, it's kind of complex for me to kind of maneuver around them, if you may help.
Well, our philosophy teaches amanina manadena, to give respect to others without expecting respect. A devotee was telling me in Alacho, because you're a senior devotee, etc. So I said, you know what? Every Guru Kuli is senior to me. Every one of them. Why? Because they started by being born in a family of Vaishnavas. That's way ahead of me. So they're all senior to me. It's not, and if a devotee takes sannyasa, they deserve all respect. However, what is the position of sannyasa? Sannyasa means servant. You are actually an advanced servant. So if you think you take sannyasa to get respect from others, this is something that Lord Chaitanya did. They took sannyasa from an impersonalist guru, but because to get the respect of other impersonalists, not the devotees. That wasn't his plan. So anybody who actually, if you don't offer respect to anybody or to somebody, or you select the people you give respect to, then you're not understanding our philosophy. Our philosophy is amanina manadena. You give respect to others without expecting any respect. That means you don't amount to much. We are insignificant. This is actually a great relief. It's not a punishment. To realize that we are insignificant means we don't have any burdens. We don't have any problems. We're insignificant. We don't have the burden of being God or being better than anybody else or being smarter than anybody else. It's like people going to a dentist and finding out that the dentist is younger than them and saying, no way, I'm going to let you take care of me. I actually saw a therapist that told me that she didn't want to get therapy, even though therapists see other therapists, for the mental health, because, people unload on them and they have to unload on someone else, not to live with all these problems. Didn't want to go to a therapist because he was younger. So this is nonsense. This is nonsense. need help, and we should take help wherever we can get it. So as far as age and seniority, all these things are relative and temporary. We are not these bodies. What happened to that? Did we forget that part? I mean, I think it's an important part of our philosophy that we are not these bodies. So all these detail on seniority and this person, you should you should let me in the prasadam line first because I joined 2 months before you did. So I'm senior to you. Therefore, I'm gonna eat the best parts of a cake, and you get whatever crumbs are there. We actually need a little bit of a wake up call. Again, to me, and maybe other people won't share this, but to me, any Guru Kuli is senior to me because I wasn't born in a family of Vaishnavas. So obviously, I'm not as advanced as any of them. They already passed that point. And eventually they will recover their memory, hopefully, in this lifetime. And they will be just running circles around you. So why minimize, why trying to, you don't go up by pushing people down. This is not how you advance. You actually, if you see the mood of the gopis, is that they push each other towards Krishna. No, you go. So if someone either demands, it's better if they command respect instead of demanding respect. But if someone demands respect from you, it's because they need it. So give it to them. You don't need it. That's opposite to our philosophy, demanding respect. When you feel, they should know who I am. They should know, Krishna knows who you are. So just amani namanadena, give respect to others, whether they want it or don't want it, whether they need it or don't need it. It's up to you to help them. And if it is too much, they will find out. If it is too much to them.
Well, Prabhuji, I can't thank you enough for this enlightenment because I don't think I had ever thought of a Guru Kuli being senior to me, but it makes perfect sense because it is a carried over, and we need to pay very close attention. Govinda Prabhu, did you have a question? If you do, you'll be on mute, please.
Yes, I do have a question.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Prabhuji, please kindly accept my respectful obeisances or glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to you and your service to Srila Prabhupada. My question is in regards to the mood that we are supposed to exhibit towards a speaker. I'm asking this question in connection to the discussion on the table, how a respect should be given when the seniors are around. We called this asa as Vyasa asa, Sukadev, Srila Vyasadev asa. And so the asa represent Vyasadev. And so whoever we put on the asa, we see that person as a representative of Srila Vyasadev. So the audience listen to a person on the asa. What should be the etiquette that the audience is supposed to exhibit to a person on the Vyasa asa? I'm asking this question because sometimes the person on the asa may not even know as much as we, the audience, know. And so if a question is asked, a person on the outside is expected to give the answers, and he may not have the answer. And if I have the answer, and then I give the answer publicly to the audience, would that be offensive to the person on the Vyasa side? Of course, not everybody is the same, but generally, I see that as a kind of belittling the person on the outside, because
Like
sitting on the outside means you know so much, and you're supposed to teach me. And so the question is asked, and then the speaker cannot answer, and me who is studying or listening give the answer, then I'm kind of rebuking or belittling the person speaking. So what should be the etiquette if we put somebody to speak to us? What should be the etiquette, so that the offenses are everywhere? We can be committing offenses without knowing. And so I would like you to help me in this area.
Well, Prabhu, it depends on the circumstances, depends on the person. If a person on the Vyasa-san is not very learned or not very insightful, and there's certain things that you can do that don't alter the etiquette, or then don't embarrass the speaker. One thing that you can do is, if someone else asks a question that was improperly answered, or the answer was incomplete or not very good, you can approach that person after the class, not the speaker, but the person who asked the question, and said, when you asked that question, I had this realization. And you just share it as if it was, your own thing, even though you're giving the right answer. You're giving a complete answer. That's one thing you can do. Devotees don't like to be, or people in general, they don't like to be embarrassed. They don't like to feel that someone, if they're humble, they will ask. Actually, if they don't know, they will, from Vyasa-san, they will answer a question and said, if anybody can add to that, please feel free, and then you will have a question. However, you don't hear that very much. Not everybody is humble and recognize their own lack of depth or lack of knowledge. So my advice to you is, try not to embarrass the speaker, because that doesn't fare well for anybody. Even though you may give the right answer, the timing may be wrong, and the way it's delivered may be wrong. It may be taken the wrong way, even though you had all good intentions. So I say, just approach the person who asks a question afterwards. Do not bother doing it during class. Is that a fair answer to your question?
Yes, very much, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then my question next to that is, at what point should the questionnaire stop asking the question to a speaker? Sometimes a question may be asked, but the speaker may not give a satisfactory answer to the questionnaire. At what point should we stop questioning? Because that can also cause kind of agitation to the speaker, and that can become an offense to the questionnaires side. So at what point can we ask the question to that we are not supposed to continue to be questioning?
Well, if they have a competent manager at the temple that can notice this kind of subtleties, that person should say, okay, we are going over time and there is stuff to do, and just cut it short. Like, okay, thank you very much to everybody. We have to move on. We have many things to do. So thank you. all glory to Srila Prabhupada and just move on.
No. Yes. Yeah.
If there is a competent manager that happens to be present during class, because many managers don't even show up for class.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Or
Well,
you can also consult with the managers, afterwards. Like I remember once I was in charge of a temple, and sannyasi came for a visit, and of course I invited the sannyasi to give class, and the sannyasi gave class, and the class was so plagued with offensive, anachronistic statements that I actually, just not to embarrass him completely, because I know that wasn't good either, I walked away. And I told the sannyasi, you're never giving class here again after the class. And that was it. And that's just, I didn't feel that I was losing all my spiritual strength or I was committing offenses. I was just stating it. That was a horrible thing to say. I didn't care. It was written somewhere, or it was totally anachronistic and offensive. He insulted people's intelligence and decor. So I said, that was it. I can't take this. So it's not like, you preserve the etiquette, but you use no common sense. I think common sense should be applied in all circumstances. So maybe if someone is giving a class and, they're doing a very poor job, then it's your service to the devotees and the deities, who also have to tolerate someone speaking, to consult with the management and say, please don't allow this person to speak anymore, or give some parameters so they don't go off the wild ends and present their own theories and bigotry. Just it's not convenience. The movement is not going to spread this way. Definitely not. It's going to shrink for sure, but it's not going to spread. So we have to preserve. Prabhupada said, if you cannot expand, at least maintain. So this is our job, that at least let's not shrink, the population to less because we say outrageous things that are not meant to help anybody.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, especially Shri Govinda Prabhu, for your questions, and SARVATMA Prabhu. We can't thank you enough. I don't know how many times I'll have to say this, because I truly mean it, that we are getting so much pearls of wisdom from you today, and of course, as always, but particularly today, I'm learning so much, because I usually host this program, so I'm learning how to handle devotees sometimes if situations like what is being discussed unfortunately shows up. So thank you so much. Madhavan Prabhu, I saw your hand up. Probably you should be the last person to say something. Probably you can.
Okay. If you give me the permission, I will do it briefly.
I can't hear.
Your line is breaking up.
Hare
But, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. All glory unto Lord feet. My question is, from today's
Madhavan Prabhu.
text,
Madhavan Prabhu.
Madhavan, that is situated in the heart of every.
Madhavan,
Yeah.
hold on. Is it, let me, if you can, otherwise I will turn your video off so that you don't use too much.
If we cannot,
just use the audio, just speak.
if we cannot hear.
Hare Krishna.
Maybe
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Are you hearing me better now?
Yes.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Yes, please, briefly, because of the time. From the text today, it was explained that the super soul that is within the heart of everyone can impart from within knowledge of the absolute truth, in terms of very ancient principles, delivered only to those who are purified by the process of devotional service. Then there's another statement, the first paragraph of the purport, just at the last sentence, when he said, only when the Lord is satisfied with the devotional service of the devotee does he impart knowledge. Yeah, okay, that place. Only when the Lord is satisfied with the devotional service of the devotee does he impart knowledge, as he did for Arjun and Uddhava. So, to me, these are two different, because for the super soul, to impart knowledge to somebody, it's as if one meditates, then you can get the knowledge. But rather, I understand if Krishna from within can give somebody the understanding to understand the transcendental knowledge. And that seconds as he did to Arjun and Uddhava, which means he did it to them directly. Does it mean when Krishna speaks to us one-on-one?
Okay, Madhuma Prabhu, your line is breaking up, but I think we got your message.
Is it going to impact by messages? To me, it looks at Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Samadhi Prabhu, did you get his question, or otherwise I can try to?
I think I got the gist of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Please correct me if I'm wrong, but you're asking, how to know if a super soul is instructing us and why it's not instructing one-to-one, what just to Uddhava and Vidura.
No, probably what he's saying is, what he's asking is, it seems like there are two statements made in the purport, in the first paragraph. First statement is, Srila Prabhupada is saying is that the super soul within the hearts of the living entity can impart knowledge to every individual who is practicing a devotional service. And then, right after that, Srila Prabhupada says that only those who are who have let me put it up on the screen, because those are the two questions he's asking from the same purport. The first one is, only in such a purified stage does the Lord, who is seated in everyone's heart with the individual soul, give instruction so that the devotee can reach the ultimate destination of going back home, back to Godhead. So here, there is no external person giving the individual instructions. The super soul from within is giving instruction. And then here, it says, only when the Lord is satisfied with the devotional service of the devotee does he impart knowledge, as he did for Arjun and Uddhava, because here Arjun and Uddhava, the Lord was physically there with them.
Yeah.
Whereas the other part here, the Supreme Lord is imparting knowledge from within. So he's asking at which point does the Lord instruct from within and then from without? That somebody will have to have a spiritual master.
Okay, well, I think as in one case, when one is purified enough, one can hear the super soul, and we may perceive the super soul rather than hear it, we can hear. If you indulge me, I can tell you one experience that I had of a super soul speaking to me. I mean, I think it's the only time that he did. I was 10 years of age, and I decided when I was 9 that I needed to know what the goal of life was, what the ultimate goal of life is, and I gave myself 1 year to find out what the real goal of life is, what the absolute truth was. And Madhuvan Prabhu, can you mute yourself? There is a lot of noise coming from you. Thank you. That I gave myself a year to find out what the goal of life is, because I didn't, even at that early age, I didn't see any point in living unless I knew what life was for. So I thought, if after a year I don't find out what the goal of life is, I'm gonna kill myself. So I was very serious, and I did read, and I asked people. I asked family and friends of a family and family of friends of a friends, and I just couldn't find out. Well, nobody knew. It's like not only nobody knew what the goal of life is, that nobody put even importance to answering that question. That to me was the only question that was worth answering. So after a year, when I turned 10, I said, okay, I think it's time to go, because I don't have any interest in continuing with this ignorant existence. And as I was starting to plan, how am I gonna kill myself? I mean, I want to do it in a painless way. I heard the voice that wasn't the voice of the mind. We know what the mind loud sounds like. And I heard a very deep voice from within saying, I have the answer that you're looking for, but unfortunately, I cannot give it to you now because here you can't do anything about it. So you have to be patient, and I will deliver. That was as clear as day. Those were the words. And I said, okay. So I took that as an assurance that I was going to get the answer. So I waited for 14 years until I met the devotees, and I heard a girl telling me, "You're not the body." And then, even though the girl had a girl's voice and didn't have a super soul's voice, which was very deep and masculine, when she said that, I recognized, okay, that's the answer to the question. Thank you. So in that case, I got the instruction directly from a super soul. There's no other explanation in my mind. There's no other explanation really that the super soul was speaking. Of course, the super soul chooses to speak whenever the super soul wants, and many times doesn't speak, speaks through others. That's also possible. And as far as Uddhava and Arjuna, yeah, they had Krishna as their own guru, but that's not our prerogative. Well, you cannot discard everybody else thinking, no, this is not my guru, or this person is not speaking for Krishna, because I need Krishna to come and show me the universal form. That is unfair to ask. So we should hope that we can recognize the super soul when he's speaking to us through the voice of others, through books, through instructions, through examples, through stories. There's so many ways that we get instructed all the time and pay little attention, thinking, no, that's not important. But it ends up that if we could read all the messages, all the signs that we get, we could hear that Krishna is actually trying to communicate with us a lot more often than we give credit for. And as far as waiting for Krishna to show up and give us the ultimate instruction and say that I'm going to chant on your beads. You're my disciple now. Pull up a chair. You may get tired of waiting for that one to happen.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I hope this answered your question, Prabhu. I'm not sure I did it in the best possible way, but that's all I have.
It did. It did.
Okay.
It did. Thank you.
Yes, you did. Yeah, thank you. Well, SARVATMA Prabhu, His Grace, we thank you so much. I think we're going to bring the kata to an end here, so you may be able to do other things you need to do. And dear devotees, tomorrow is the Kadashi, and tomorrow is Gita Jayanti, the day Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, as we are discussing about Arjuna here in the purport. So we all should prepare our minds, our hearts, and our soul to receiving this message and praying that we can actually live the message. I think that is the most important thing, living the message. So here in Gita Nagari, different devotees are going to take turns to read the various chapters. One devotee takes one chapter and reads, another devotee takes one chapter and reads from verse 1 to the last verse.
Just the English translations, correct?
Yeah, just the English, yes, just the English translation. Yeah, so we hope other temples, especially in West Africa, may do the same. And till then, we say Hare Krishna, and we humbly request you all to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation to our dear brother, His Grace SARVATMA Prabhu, for sharing his love and wisdom with us today. Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna, Hare
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 Rama,
Rama, Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama
Rama, Hare Hare.
Pancha
Panchakarpataru
Kalpataru
Bhyascha Kripa Sindhudya Sevascha Gitanam
Nam
Pavashnavebhyo
Bhavavyo,
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah.
Namo
His
Namaha.
Grace SARVATMA Prabhu ki.
Jai.
Thank you,
His
devotees.
co-founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai.
Jai.
Thank you.
Nitai
Thank you.
go Piminande.
Hare Hare Bol.
Thank you, devotees, for your kindness and your love.
Thank you so much for the
Thank you, Prabhu.
Salika, you are the host, remember.
Yeah, sure.